Michael Douville coming to you from beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. Now, I'm on my second generation for investors. I've been doing this a really, really long time. I also wrote a book. I teach, and I'm going to tell you, here's some questions I get from first-time investors, and it really scares them. These are things that really concern them. Sometimes it prevents them from moving forward, and I want to alleviate some of these fears. So let's just talk about what we're talking about, because it's very, very real to a lot of these folks. They've never done this before. So 3 tips for first-time real estate investors are coming right at you. Now, I've been doing this for a really, really long time. I hear this all the time. So tip number 1, they're always concerned about, am I going to be able to rent this property? Because, as a first-time home buyer, they're not paying cash for this property. They're probably, they've got a family at home, or they have a career that's going on, they got a profession, they have income coming in, they've saved their money, and they're putting it down for an investment property that's supposed to give them cash flow and tax savings, get them some capital gains. But what if it doesn't rent? What if it doesn't rent and they've got that extra payment that they're now on the hook for all this money? They scrape together 20%, 30% down, they're buying a property. And the fear is, what if it doesn't rent? Now I got my house payment that the kids are all living in, my house payment, this is my own home, and I just bought this investment property, it's got a payment on it. Well, in 50 years of doing this, I've never had a property we couldn't lease. Never, ever happened. We can always lease these properties, particularly if you're in one of the great markets of the United States, Florida, Texas, and Arizona. Here in Metro Phoenix, before we even close the property, we put a for rent sign. We have to ask permission from the seller to do this 4 or 5 days in advance, but by the time closing comes, we typically have applications, often have multiple applications for the property, so we always lease them, and we lease them fairly quickly. Now, if you want to do it yourself, which a lot of people do, we're trying to get in, we're trying to save costs, you want to make sure you do your homework on everything that you do. Now, we're in a digital world. All of the statistics and data is online. You can talk to your broker. If you had a broker that sold you the property, you can ask him to look it up. But we as a group, my group, we buy properties to rent. So they have to fit certain investment parameters or we won't buy them. Now, there's a subtle difference there. Our properties are purposely bought. These properties fit into a very tight acquisition protocol that they're going to give us cash flow and capital gains. Now, you can do this. We want you to make sure that you talk to your broker, make sure you know what the property is going to lease for. Now, everybody knows what PITI is, and we probably have an HOA fee on top of that. But there's some other costs that are very real that are maybe a little more subtle. Things are going to break, so we need to escrow for that. You need to have a repair escrow. If your broker leases your property, they can't do it for free. So there's some kind of fee, so we have to put a cost of sales in. We also have vacancy factor, and vacancy factor is nothing more than a time when there's no one in the property and you are on the hook for those days. So we want to limit vacancy factor. Now, here in Phoenix, Arizona, we're probably down around 1 or 2%. We have vacancy factors very, very nominal. We have more tenants than we possibly have rentals for them, and it's just a very fortunate part of our investment horizon at the moment. Part of the cycle, but that can change. So you always need to be concerned about vacancy factor. Typically, it never gets more than 4 or 5%. In the great markets, it'd be very, very limited. But if your vacancy factor is starting to expand, it's taking longer and longer to rent the property, then you've probably mistaken the rental value. And you need to adjust that as quickly as you possibly can. So if the market is not confirming, so in other words, if you put the property on the market for $1,800 and no one responds, you're too high. You made a mistake. And we have a small window of opportunity here. We have to lease those properties within 2 or 3 weeks. We don't want to be suffering a month's worth of vacancy factor on the property. So it behooves us and you to rent these properties as quickly as you possibly can. That's where your homework comes in. You need to do really, really good professional homework to make sure that you hit the number immediately. If it's worth $1,800, don't try and get $2,000, $2,100, $2,200 for it. If the market's telling you $1,800, rent it for $1,800. Maybe you want to push the envelope to $1,850 or something. But if you can't get $1,850, reduce it right away, because you don't want to pay vacancy, because every day someone is not there is a day you lose. You can never get this back. So it's up to you to get done as quickly as you possibly can. Now, on top of that, we put a management figure in. Now, if you're doing this yourself, you won't have that management, but all of our properties, we have a very large property portfolio. All of those are under management. And of course, management takes care of a lot of other problems that you're just not going to have. But let's go on to number 2. And I hear this all the time. Tip number 1, is it going to actually rent? Yes, of course it's going to rent. We're going to rent this right away. You're not going to have 2 places that you're going to be responsible for payment. You're going to get a tenant in, a tenant's going to pay rent, and it's going to happen right away. The next thing I hear that this is really a concern for people is, what if something breaks? I've just taken all my money for the down payment. I don't want to have to go into savings that we're putting for the kids' college, or buying a new car, some furniture. I don't want to take that money and have to repair something in the house. Well, this is certainly a concern. But whenever we buy these properties, we have them professionally inspected. We make sure that we know exactly what it is we're buying. So not only are we purposely buying this for a rental, we're inspecting our purchase to make sure that it fits what we thought we had. We want to make sure that the roof is good, the hot water heater is good, the air conditioner is good. We want to see if there's the general repair of the property. Now, the 3 main systems in a house that we have problems with is the roof, the hot water heater, and the air conditioner. Now, here in Arizona and across the country, air conditioners are changing over on the Freon, so we're no longer repairing them, we're pretty much replacing them. So you have to be concerned about the cost of an air conditioner. It's one of those things. It's about $7,000 to put an air conditioner on. If it's good for 20 years, so if it's only 10 years old, you got 10 more years to save to put an air conditioner. You might not even own the property then. We hope you do. We trade a lot of these, so it may not be the same one. But if not, then we're just budgeting it. We have a repair escrow that should cover most of those costs, and it shouldn't be immediate. Now, if you have an immediate cost, your home inspector is going to tell you. He's going to say, hey, this air conditioner is not working. It's not blowing air right. It's not got enough Freon. There's a leak in it. They're going to tell you right off the gate. Same with the roof. They're going to go up on the roof. They're going to check the roof and say, hey, look at this roof is shot. This needs a new roof. Or they're going to say, hey, look, you need some repair. This is typical of what we see. The flashings have to be retired, and they need some work, maintenance done on the roof. $300-400, and it's generally taken care of for several years. But the roof is good 25 to 30 years here in Maricopa County. Maricopa County is also Gilbert, Chandler, Scottsdale, Phoenix, Peoria, Surprise. It's a really big county. And those roofs here get a lot of sun. They're worth about 25 to 30 years. Now, they're tile roofs, but there's underlayment. The underlayment wears out, and that's what they replace. So if you buy a house that's 15 years old, you probably got 10 or 15 years. Now, your inspector is going to tell you, hey, we get up there, it's bad. Well, then you need to negotiate with the seller. Say, hey, we got a bad roof here. What are we going to do about it? Typically, you can work something out, get this done. Or you take it off the price, or you just have to know that this is a cost, or you just walk away from the sale. Maybe this isn't for you. But it fits into our budget. So we as investors and you should be factoring in this cost that we're going to have. Make sure that the investment gives us a return on investment. So you can do this. You're going to know these things. Same with the hot water heater. Those are the 3 main ones. A hot water heater in Maricopa County is good for about 6 to 8 years. If you get one that's 6 years old, you know that you have a limited time left on it. Not a big deal. It costs about $800 to get this done. And you just, if we get it on a turnover and we see you have a 7-year-old hot water heater, it's got some corrosion on it, we just replace it so we don't have to do it while a tenant's there. It's just one of the costs. But those are the 3 big ones. Everything else just falls in place. And you can do this. Now, here's the other thing. They sell these home warranties. You get a home warranty. It covers all these different things. You choose what you want on it. It costs you $400, $500, $600 a year. And you can cover, now they're a limited warranty. They're not going to cover absolutely everything that possibly can be done. But they're going to give you some limited. It makes you sleep better at night. You can just factor in, maybe it's $600 a year, it's $50 a month. Just factor it in. And if it fits within your parameters, because we have a very, very tight protocol for acquisition, so it either fits in it or it doesn't. So we want to make sure that we maintain our return on investments. You can do this yourself. Really, really easy. Just really, really easy. The tip about major repairs is no problem. Get a home warranty if you're concerned, or just factor in the cost into your repair escrow so that you, over a number of years, maybe 5 years, you're escrowing for a new roof. You just put that into your escrows. And when the roof goes bad, you'll have the money in the escrow account. Too easy. Also, keep in mind, if you need a roof in 5 or 10 years, you're going to be raising rents. And so a lot of the rental increase can go to offset any roofing that you may have down the line. The roof also becomes a tax consequence. Talk to tax accountant about that. Now, here's one I hear an awful lot. And this is because we have a lot of neighboring states. California, you know, if a tenant doesn't pay their rent, oh my God, you're just in deep trouble. So all these scare stories. What's going to happen if this tenant doesn't pay their rent? They're going to be in there for years and years and years, and I'm going to have to pay my house, I'm going to have to pay the rental's house, and this tenant's going to live with me for all this time, and I'm just going to really have a problem. Well, in Arizona, it's very cut and dry. With less than 30 days, a non-paying tenant is out. They're toast. They're gone. We have a landlord-tenant act here. It is just cut and dry. So my personal portfolio, again, I'm not going to tell you this is what you should do, but this is what I do. Rent is due the 1st. It's late the 2nd. On the 2nd, it starts incurring late charges. On the 2nd, we also send out a professional process server, giving them 5 days with which to cure the breach. At the end of the 5 days, on the 6th day after that, we're in court, and it's the Justice of the Peace Court. Very inexpensive to do, very informal, but legal. And we're in court within 14 days, and the court's going to order the tenant in. And I'll tell you right now, the judge is going to ask one question. Did you pay your rent? And the tenant's going to want to start telling him all kinds of stories, and he's going to stop them and say, did you pay your rent? And the tenant says no. Down comes the gavel, out in 3 days. It's cut and dried. So within like 25, 26, 27 days from the moment they don't pay their rent, they're gone. And we can start our rental cycle again. And if you've done your business right, then you've taken 1 month security deposit, maybe some other deposits. And this can go to mitigate your cost basis and your loss. And we're up and running. Now, I'm going to tell you, this doesn't happen very often, very, very seldom. Nobody wants to evict their tenants. We don't want to do this. We want good tenants that put down roots, that our rentals become their homes. And this is what we have. And again, you can do a policy. You need to credit check all these guys. Make sure the better the credit, the more likely it is that you're going to get paid. So you can make a policy. I want someone that's got a 620 or a 640 credit score. Well, the higher the credit score, the better off the tenant is, the less problems you're going to have with them. You also want to check their income to debt ratio. If they got $5,000 a month coming in, that sounds great. $5,000 going out, $5,000 in, $5,000 going out, doesn't sound like they got margin for error, doesn't sound like they're so good. So you need to just develop a policy and say what that margin is. You had to do it when you went to get qualified for a loan. Why shouldn't your tenants do this? And if you have a policy and you check their credit, you're going to get very, very good tenants. You may do very fair rent. You're going to get very good tenants. They're going to stay for a very, very long time. This is going to be very good for you. I've got tenants that stay 10 and 15 years on a 30-year mortgage. You get one that stays 15 years, they almost paid that house off for you. So on tip number 3, what if the tenant refuses to pay rent? Well, we just evict them. No, we don't do it. We do it literally so seldom. But it's not the end of the world. You're not going to be there. You're going to get rid of them right away. You need to follow the rules, though, and just do it really quick. And don't become their friends. Be friendly, but not friends. This is a business relationship. We give them a good house to live in. We take care of repairs. They pay their rent. They don't pay, they have to leave. Now, this slide is for me to remind me to ask you to give me a thumbs up if you like this video. And also, would you subscribe? We're trying to get this out so that people invest in a very, very compelling investment. Real estate is very, very good. It's going to be good for many, many years, particularly in the great markets of the United States. Now, the real estate is going to be good all across America. One of the greatest bull markets in my lifetime is unfolding now, what you knew really, really well in Florida, Texas, and Arizona. If you have any questions, you're welcome to reach me at michael@michaeldouville.com. If I can help in any way, I certainly will. You're welcome to look at my books on Amazon. The book in blue, that's my wife and I put together. That was our business plan. How to create a real estate money machine and retire with income, retire at any age. You can retire. It's a financial decision. And the new book we just wrote is talking about taking you from a beginner and taking you through some of the pitfalls. If I can help in any way, I want you to succeed. I want you in the worst kind of way to succeed. You're welcome to reach me at michael@michaeldouville.com. My very, very best to you.